Welcome to the YouTube channel Deepak Patel Official. Hello everyone. I'm Swapna Jhaveri, yoga teacher. I'm going to be talking on the concept of Yamas and Niyam on behalf of Sir Deepak Patel. This is a series of small short talks beginning with an introduction, and the subsequent talks are specifically in detail of Yama Niyam and how we can apply them in our daily life. The theme for this year, that is 2021, for Yoga International Day is Yoga for Well-Being. What does well-being mean? It simply is a state of being happy and healthy. So yoga helps to be in a state of well-being, and it also helps to build the personality. Let me give you an analogy. If you have to build a wall, you will lay the bricks one on top of the other. While you are on the path of yoga, this laying of bricks has been likened to the conscious efforts you make in the form of yoga practices. To hold the bricks, you need to cement it. So cementing in yoga practices is done by the quality of the mind you have. If the quality of mind is not good, the wall you have created will be weak. Similarly, if the quality of the mind is weak and restless, whatever efforts you put in the practices will not be able to sustain it. What is the goal of yoga? It is to work towards that state of mind which will not get ruffled by life situations. When you are on the path of yoga, I repeat, when you are on the path of yoga, you need to build a certain kind of mindset. You need to develop aptitude to continue on the path of yoga. Patanjali has described a very scientific method of by way of Ashtanga Yoga, or 8 limbs of Patanjali. Each of these limbs are related to our various aspects of personality. If you observe a human body, it's not like your hands grow first and then your legs. So similarly, Ashtanga, 8 limbs, are so called that each of these limbs are integrated. They are one into the other, and they have to be developed or worked on simultaneously. Recently, in one of Sir's session, Sir Deepak Patel, he has explained beautifully the purpose of the human body, the asanas and the pranayams, and the other aspects, and how they are all related to each other. When you are on the path of yoga, with practices and conscious effort, you gain a lot of control over your emotions, thoughts, words, actions. But we are always confronted with negative qualities like resentment, anger, jealousy, ego, wrong thinking. When we fall prey to these, we lose a lot of energy. How do we use our energy in relationship to others? And what is your thought pattern at that time? How are your emotions? When you practice asanas, is it only on the mat? Or do you exercise which may make you strong, flexible, fresh, alive? You may be able to chant mantras. But do these practices help you to become more aware, more focused, mindful, calm only on the mat? Are you able to connect it in daily life or permeate it in daily life? The flexibility you gain on the mat, does it make you flexible in your mind? Are you able to look at your situations differently? अलग नजरिए से देख पाते हो या अपनी दृष्टि पे ही अड़े रहते हो? How is your social behavior, your interactions with the outside world, your interpersonal relationships? So here comes yamas, restraints, the first one mentioned according to Patanjali. Yamas are those powerful techniques which help to reduce your suffering and transform your personality. They are those applications in your daily life where you minimize the amount of harm you do to yourself and others. Yamas are universal and absolute. Example, when it is said that you shall not kill or harm, then it does not matter whether you are an Indian or American, whether it is winter or summer, whether you are fasting or feasting. It is very clear that you should not kill any time in any condition whatsoever. Let us see what the yamas are. There are 5 of them. The first one is ahimsa. It is the most important yama, a very important concept of yoga. Refrain from injuring others and refrain from harming yourself through thoughts, words, and deeds. It is the universal concept applicable to entire mankind. It has been said that animals like lion, tiger, which are ferocious in nature, will become peaceful in the presence of a person who practices ahimsa. If you can understand what ahimsa is about, a whole lot of things will get sorted. It is the foundation for all the other yamas. You follow ahimsa, automatically all the other yamas will fall in place. You will speak the truth, you will not hurt others by stealing their work, you will not clutter with material things by being greedy, and you will not waste energy in sensual pleasures. Let us see how we can apply ahimsa on the mat, that is, while doing asanas. Sthira Sukham Asanam. Asana is that posture which is steady, stable and comfortable, done with ease and in a relaxed manner. Do you push yourself beyond your limits? Or you cross your challenging zone? Do you overarch, overstretch? Do you recognize your overstretching? Do you feel low that you can't reach the ideal pose? Then you are injuring yourself. Be clear of the purpose. Accept yourself the way you are. Know your strengths and limitations. Listen to your body. Respect it. How do we observe ahimsa in food habits? Many a times we overeat. We eat foods which are not good for us, and over a period of time, irreversible health issues set in. So the quantity, our intense likes and dislikes can do us harm. We may not be eating a wholesome meal, so check your habits, your preferences. What is good is not always pleasant, and what is pleasant is not always good. What about your thoughts and feelings? You may be eating right, exercising right, perfect routine, but your thoughts are negative, so it does no good. Negative thinking can lower your immune system. You may invite a lot of pain and suffering. Check your insecurities. Check the need to control things. Its root is fear, and fear manifests itself on the body in the form of disease. How do you practice ahimsa? You have to develop qualities which culminate into ahimsa. Be caring, loving, forgiving, understanding, mindful, kind, love unconditionally. It starts with yourself, and like magic, it will radiate from you to the others. See the transformation happening. Now, this was about how you can stop from harming yourself. But what about the injury coming from others? When others are harming you, how should you deal with it? Yoga says, if the peace is getting disturbed or if your rights are taken away, you should stand up for yourself. Be bold, Be brave, communicate, disconnect from the people who are disturbing you. Sometimes you have to resort to legal action. To be meek, submissive, weak, getting humiliated, getting taken for granted are not yogic traits. Be forgiving, be humble, but being complacent, lethargic, indifferent is being tamasic. Protecting yourself, your self-respect, your interests is your way of life, is your duty, a way to practice ahimsa. So this was on ahimsa. In this section, I'm going to be talking on the next two yamas, that is satya and asteya. What is satya? Satya is about truth and truthfulness. A truth is a truth is a truth. It cannot be changed. It is a reality. You may not be able to see it. You may not want to see it. You may not want to face it. You could distort it for your own reasons. Sometimes we do not even have the capacity to receive the truth. Our thoughts, emotions, feelings keep changing. Sometimes we feel sad, sometimes happy, angry. Seasons change, circumstances change, situations change, so many changes from birth to death. And yet, all of this very much creates our experiences. So what is Satya? It is the coordination, alignment in thoughts, words and deeds. It is the coordination, alignment in thoughts, words and deeds. That is, saying and thinking exactly of what has been seen, heard or inferred without adding anything of your own. To be able to understand what truth is all about, you need to have a quiet mind. A quiet mind will help to see what is impermanent, unchangeable, what is permanent. A quiet mind can give you the space to see clearly what is required for the situation. A Sufi once said about the words we speak, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Truthful words should be uttered with careful consideration. You need to weigh the words, keeping ahimsa in mind. In our interpersonal relationships, many times we need to alter our response to the situation, keeping in mind you are not hurting or harming somebody or something. What will help to see or experience the truth? When we are on the mat, the practices should help us to be in the present by way of synchronizing the movements. With breathing, train the mind to be in the present. Meditative practices help us to quieten the mind, that is, reduces the number of thoughts which are constantly flying from here and there. Gain clarity, see yourself, everything around you with an honesty. Develop objectivity, see what is real and what is not. We get identified with each and everything around us emotionally or by thoughts. The space that you create when you are on the mat will help you to be still. Observe how your thoughts, emotions come and go, situations come and go. The wise always say, this too shall pass. This needs to be ingrained deeply in ourselves. Be honest and truthful to ourselves. Being honest and truthful to ourselves is difficult and more difficult towards others. But in our interpersonal relationships, truthfulness helps to build trust. Being truthful is appreciated by everyone. This was on Satya. Now let us move on to the next Yama, Asteya. Asteya is non-stealing. Refrain from stealing of material things, robbing. Refrain from stealing other people's work, ideas, taking credit for other people's work. Non-stealing means not taking anything which is not given to you freely, or that which does not belong to you. What causes us to steal? Maybe we sense a lack of something in us. Maybe we sense something missing in us. Maybe our desires and wants are disproportionately high or unrealistically high. Probably we feel incomplete. We make comparisons with others, like how they are blessed and not me. This thought can harm us. When we steal from others or when we judge others, we tend to hurt ourselves and others, and this is not in accordance with ahimsa. How do we practice asteya? Definitely by reducing our wants. All the time wanting brings dissatisfaction, disappointment. We are never happy with what we have. The focus is always outside. So bring it inward. Look within. Look at your strengths. All our needs are always met. It is the desires we need to take control of. Do those things for yourself which will contribute to your growth. What can you give of yourself that will enrich your life? Because it is truly said, when you give, the whole world opens up for you. There is no need to take and take and take. Count your blessings. Focus on what you have. Appreciate the things you have in life. All are blessed with some skills, talents. Recognize them, utilize them, acknowledge them. If we really look within, we will realize that we all have everything that we need. And when you realize this, you won't need to steal anything from anyone. There is plenty for each and every one of us. Practice abundance. Become aware of the flow of abundance the universe bestows upon us, and you will never experience lack. Because there is always enough for everyone's need and never enough for greed. This is said by Gandhiji. So now this was the concept of asteya. Let us hear the other two remaining yamas in the next audio. In this audio, I am going to be talking on the last two yamas, which are Parikraha and Brahmacharya. Parikraha, non-accumulation, non-hoarding, non-possessiveness. How many times have you experienced that the number of clothes, books, things you possess are actually not required? We accumulate it, collect it, hoard it without recognizing that we do not need it. Many a times it goes unused. We create clutter and then we are not able to part with it. We become possessive and we worry about losing it. We become attached to it. This has its effect on the mind. We lose energy by way of clutter we have created, and then we worry about it. When you go marketing, how many times do you stick to the list that you have made? How many times you buy things out of that list which are not in that list, which may not be necessary? And then after a few days, you chuck it, waste it. Attachment comes when we are clinging to some things which we believe are pleasant and will bring lasting happiness. And when you hold on to these things or emotions, we invite suffering, pain, anger, and bitterness. How do we cultivate understanding of a parikraha? We begin by letting go. If it is the material things we have accumulated, those we don't need, we donate it, give it to someone who needs it. For example, if we want to clean our cupboard, we first take out all the things and then we sort out what we need and remove those which are no longer we are using. Similarly, in our relationships, interactions with others, we want all the pleasant experiences to stay with us forever. We want permanency. Enjoy all that but not to cling to it. When the next moment comes, be in it. Enjoy the journey. Life is about experiences, all types of experiences, but to see through it, we need to go inwards, get our foundation of life corrected, and not hold on to material possessions and bondages. This way, when we refrain from accumulating, we help ourselves to minimize our suffering. This was on a parikraha. Now we move on to Brahmacharya, the next Yama, the last Yama. It is normally understood as abstinence from sex or celibacy. But here yoga talks of Brahmacharya as refraining from indulging in sensual pleasures. It is about energy management. It talks of that energy which takes you away from the path of yogic practices. So here the emphasis is on right use of energy. Because if we allow ourselves to indulge in senses, it makes our body weak. Direct our energy from the external, from those pleasures which seem pleasant and desirable, but are ultimately not long-lasting. Do not allow your senses to dissipate your energy. Do you notice or realize that you actually use so much of energy worrying about things which do not serve us? When you are unhappy, fearful, having negative thoughts, it lowers our energy levels, immune system. How do we practice Brahmacharya? When on the mat, listen to your body. See where the mind is. See where you are directing your energy. When you're doing your practices like asana, pranayama, it is training you to be in the present. How do we spend our time? Are we doing something worthwhile, or are we indulging in excessive sensory activities like watching TV, overeating, not recognizing our boundaries? You may be filled with a lot of activities, but how do you feel when you're doing them? Are you overburdened? Many a times we feel drained of energy by excessive talking. Is it worthwhile? So all these are pointers as to our proper use of energy and how we direct it. Someone has rightly said, do you spend your energy like money? You don't want to spend it all away and be left with nothing. Be or become a good energy manager. To conclude, yamas are those techniques which help us to gather our distracted mind in order to build strength to follow niyam or observances. Yamas are those techniques at the social, psychological level which help in our interactions with the world around us. Every yama that we saw had the idea of conserving our energy so that we don't harm ourselves and others and therefore reduce our suffering. Yamas tell us about restraining those tendencies which draw us more into the external world, the sensual world. Once you develop a strong control over these outgoing desires, where there is internalization of energy, mind becomes stronger to practice niyam. So we saw how the yamas begin to help in our personality transformation. Thank you all for your attention. Now we will be talking on niyams, the second limb of Eightfold Path of Patanjali. Niyams are observances. For example, observing discipline in routine life. It is not easy to observe routine, healthy activities in daily life and not easy to deal with the distractions and temptations. So only when strength grows, niyams follow yamas. So niyams are at the personal level, your personal practices. Like yamas, they are also 5. The first one is Sauch. Observe cleanliness, not just the external, that is keeping the body clean and healthy and the environment, but also the internal, that is the mind, the mental and emotional purification. The environment around us, the food habits, lifestyle, all contribute to the steadiness of the mind. For example, if our home or our room is messy, most of the time you will notice, you will feel irritated, confused, cluttered. It is very clearly said about the mind, where the attention goes, energy flows. When you purify the mind, you purify the emotions too. Check whether the thoughts are negative, whether emotions like greed, jealousy, feeling sad, feeling bad, judging people, are they all playing up? How long do you stay in a negative state, in a toxic state, like feeling grumpy, angry, unforgiving? Are you able to come out of this quickly? Are you able to direct your energies to a hopeful, joyful, happy state? We always have choices in life, and mind is very powerful. We can train it to make choices which are positive, which in turn helps us to grow. Now we go on to the next niyam, santosh, contentment. When we look into the outside world or around us, we feel we need more money, more success, and then we will be happy and satisfied and contented. But contentment in its real sense means we don't need more to be happy. We need to appreciate and show gratitude for what we have in life. All that we need is met. Santosh means completely satisfied, completely comfortable in your environment and accepting one's circumstances, not craving for more. It comes from recognizing that all your needs and desires are met even before you ask. Let me give you an analogy of thorns which are covering the earth. In order to protect yourself from thorns, instead of covering the whole earth with a carpet, you protect yourself wearing shoes. Thorns which are endless, unlimited, are likened to desires which are unending, unlimited. So when you observe contentment, you go deep within to realize that all the needs and desires are met. When you say, I acknowledge, appreciate, and am grateful for all the things that I have, you are actually practicing the exercise of abundance, the law of abundance, and this will protect you from running after desires, from craving all the time, wanting all the time. Now we move on to the third niyam, which is tapa. Tapa is fortitude, austerity, simply put, self-discipline. When the body develops the power to endure hardships, when the mind develops the strength to deal with the dualities of life, to overcome the little discomforts, you develop the capacity to put up with the little changes that are constantly happening and not getting disturbed, you become self-disciplined. This is achieved through exercising willpower. What is willpower? It is the ability to make a change and sustain in it. When you sustain in it, an internal fire is created which burns up the mental and physical impurities. When you say self-discipline, it means you have agreed with yourself to follow something, some intention, sincerely, dedicatedly. Some intention like learning music or changing a diet, etc. How committed are you in following that intention? Doing something only for 10 minutes is fine. How determined are you? It is not becoming rigid. If you can't achieve your intention at the time you have set, then be flexible to do it some other time in the day. You are being mindful too and not doing things mechanically. This was on tapa. The next niyam is swadhyay, self-study. Study your own self. Contemplate, reflect, introspect. Become aware of what are the things that harm us, serve us. Look within. Who am I? Do you do things on time or do you procrastinate? Are you happy, sad? When you're studying your own self, you don't judge yourself. You are just observing what you are doing, how you are in every moment. How do you practice Swadhyay? You study scriptures. From scriptures, you learn about the purpose of life, how to live life, how to draw inspiration from them, how to imbibe it in daily life. When you get inspired by something from the scriptures, it means that something really resonates within you. Reading autobiographies of wise people, when you read about them, you will find that how they have overcome the challenges in life, and it can inspire you and motivate you to make changes in your life. Reflect. Reflect on your day's sequence at the end of the day. How you spent your day. What did you do? Did you react or respond in the situations? See the day's event in a chronological manner without analyzing. When you do Swadhyay, you will find certain repetitive patterns of your behavior which bother you, and you will start addressing those patterns. This is how you observe Swadhyay. The next one is Ishwar Pranidhan, the fifth niyam. It is dedicating, surrendering the fruits of one's actions to the higher power. Our ego always comes in the way after we have performed certain actions or we have certain achievements. We have this attitude, I am the doer. We need to dissolve our ego, let go our constant identification with ourselves and with everything we do and achieve. When we do this, it creates humbleness. We acknowledge the existence of a greater force in the universe. Ishwar Pranidhan teaches you to surrender to the guiding force of the universe. It brings peace. You can always pause to look for the higher essence in any situation. Cultivating Ishwar Pranidhan in our life will help to ease the worries, tensions, anxieties, because you have cultivated the faith that there is a higher power to take care of you. So these were the yamas and niyams of the Eightfold Path of Patanjali, and you saw how they help us to be in a state of well-being, especially when you practice them along with asanas and pranayama. So these were the yamas and niyams of the Eightfold Path of Patanjali, and you saw how they help us along with asanas and pranayams to be in a state of well-being. Thank you all for your attention.